The silence was killing Do-hyun faster than the failing life support systems. He floated in the dark corridors of the ruined colony ship, his flashlight cutting through the gloom like a knife. 8 months. 8 months since the catastrophic engine failure that killed everyone else aboard the Eternal Dawn. 8 months of talking to himself, rationing food bars that tasted like cardboard, and watching his distress beacon send signals into the void that nobody answered. The ship groaned around him, metal contracting in the cold of space. Do-hyun pushed himself toward the bridge, his magnetic boots clicking against the floor panels. He checked the sensors again, hoping for any sign of rescue. Instead, he saw something that made his heart race. A massive ship was approaching, but it was not human. Do-hyun zoomed in on the sensor display. The vessel was enormous, covered in dark armor plates and bristling with weapons. He recognized the design from his xenobiology training. Krell, the savage warriors of the Outer Rim, the species that made other aliens nervous at diplomatic meetings. He should hide. He should shut down all systems and hope they passed by. But Do-hyun was so tired of being alone, so tired of the silence. His hand hovered over the controls, trembling. The Krell ship moved closer. Through his damaged sensors, Do-hyun watched smaller ships launch from its belly. They were not scanning for survivors. They were moving in formation like an honor guard. Something important was happening. Do-hyun enhanced the image. One of the smaller ships had different markings, more decorative. It looked ceremonial. He switched to his long-range cameras and adjusted the focus. Inside that ship, through the transparent sections, he could see figures, tall, scaled beings that moved with predatory grace. Krell warriors, each one capable of tearing a human apart. And in the center, sitting on an elevated throne, was someone different. She was smaller than the warriors, though still taller than any human. Her scales were lighter, almost silver in the ship's interior lighting. She wore elaborate clothing that mixed armor with flowing fabric. Even from this distance, even through the grainy camera feed, Do-hyun could see that she held herself like royalty. He accessed the Krell language database in his ship's computer. The translation software was basic, but it picked up radio chatter between the ships. Words scrolled across his screen. Warlord, conquest, mate transfer, fortress world. Do-hyun read the translations again. This was a political convoy. The female was being transported as part of some alliance. The wife of a chieftain, moving from one place to another like a piece of property. An idea formed in his mind. A terrible, desperate, completely insane idea. He was going to die alone on this ship anyway. His supplies would run out in another month. His water recycler was failing. He had survived this long on hope, but hope was not food or oxygen or human contact. But what if he was not alone? Do-hyun started typing commands into his console, his fingers moving faster than his common sense. He created a fake distress beacon, one that mimicked the signature of a valuable resource cache. Rare metals, medical supplies, things that even Krell warriors might investigate. His hands shook as he launched the beacon. It shot out from his ship, broadcasting its lies into space. Now he just had to wait. The Krell convoy continued on its path. Minutes passed. Do-hyun watched his sensors, barely breathing. Maybe they would ignore it. Maybe this was where his stupid plan would end. Then one of the smaller ships broke formation. It was the ceremonial vessel, the one carrying the female. Do-hyun's heart hammered in his chest. No, no, no. He wanted them to send a cargo ship, a scout vessel, something he could hack and steal. Not this one. But the ship was approaching his beacon. Do-hyun scrambled to his backup systems. He had spent months repairing what he could, jury-rigging solutions to keep himself alive. Now he would use those same skills for something crazy. The Krell ship slowed near the beacon. Do-hyun launched his hacking program, a virus designed to exploit known weaknesses in Krell navigation systems. It was old code, maybe outdated, but it was all he had. His screen filled with alien text. The virus was working. The Krell ship's systems were accepting his commands, thinking he was a legitimate maintenance protocol. Do-hyun rerouted their autopilot, pulling the ship toward his position. Alarms must have been sounding on that ship. The warriors would be trying to regain control, but Do-hyun had surprise on his side, and desperation made him fast. He brought the Krell ship into his docking bay, magnetic clamps sealing it in place. Now came the dangerous part. Do-hyun grabbed his plasma cutter and the stun device he had made from spare parts. He moved through his ship's corridors toward the docking bay, his breath loud in his own ears. What was he doing? This was suicide. These were Krell warriors. He reached the airlock. Through the window, he could see the Krell ship's door starting to open. Armored figures were moving inside, preparing to breach and kill whoever had captured them. Do-hyun activated his trap. He had rigged the docking bay with emergency venting systems, not enough to kill but enough to disorient. Gases flooded the space between ships. He heard sounds of confusion, angry growls in the Krell language. He opened the inner airlock and threw his homemade stun device. It exploded with electromagnetic pulses, primitive but effective. Thudding sounds echoed as armored bodies hit the floor. Do-hyun ran forward, his cutter raised. He had to grab someone, anyone, before they recovered. He stumbled over an unconscious warrior and kept moving deeper into the Krell ship. There, in a private cabin, the female, struggling with her safety harness, her silver scales reflecting the emergency lighting. She looked up at him, her eyes wide and alien but somehow expressive. Do-hyun pointed his cutter at her, though his hands were shaking so badly it was hardly threatening. She raised her hands slowly, speaking in rapid Krell that he could not understand. He gestured toward his ship. She had to come with him. Now, before the warriors woke up. The female studied him for a long moment. Then, incredibly, she nodded. She released her harness and stood, towering over him. Do-hyun backed toward the airlock, keeping the cutter pointed at her, and she followed. They crossed back to his ship. Do-hyun sealed the airlocks and activated his escape pod protocols. The Eternal Dawn had one working emergency pod left, prepped and ready for exactly this kind of desperate escape. He pushed the female into the pod's cargo hold and secured the door. She did not resist. Why was she not resisting? Do-hyun strapped into the pilot seat and initiated launch. The pod tore away from the dead colony ship, its small engine screaming as it built up speed. Behind them, the Krell convoy was turning around, realizing what had happened, but Do-hyun had already calculated his jump. The pod's hyperspace drive was charging, nearly ready. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. The jump activated, and space twisted around them. Stars stretched into lines. The Krell convoy vanished. In the sudden quiet, Do-hyun heard movement from the cargo hold. He unbuckled and moved to the door, his cutter ready. He opened it slowly. The female was sitting calmly on the floor, her silver scales catching the pod's interior lights. She looked at him, and her alien face did something he did not expect. She smiled. Then she spoke, her voice deep but clear, the words in broken but understandable human language. I always wanted a human husband. Do-hyun stared at her, his cutter falling from his numb fingers. The pod hurtled through hyperspace, carrying two beings toward an unknown future, while behind them a warlord realized his wife was gone. Do-hyun could not move. He stood in the doorway of the cargo hold, staring at the alien woman who had just spoken perfect human words. His brain struggled to process what she had said. The female tilted her head, studying him with bright amber eyes. She was magnificent in a terrifying way. Her silver scales caught the light with every breath. Her clawed hands rested calmly on her knees. And even sitting down, she was almost as tall as he was standing. You understand me? Do-hyun finally managed to say. Yes, she replied, her accent thick but clear. I study human language. Many years. Secret study? Why? She smiled again, and this time Do-hyun noticed her teeth were sharp but somehow not threatening. Human culture beautiful. Your music. Your stories. Your philosophy of choice and freedom. She spoke slowly, carefully selecting each word. I always dream of human partner. Someone who sees me as equal. Do-hyun grabbed the doorframe for support. This was not how abductions were supposed to work. You are not angry? I kidnapped you. I pulled you from your ship. The female stood, and Do-hyun took an automatic step backward. She noticed and stopped, lowering herself back down to appear less threatening. My name is Yuna. Human phonetic I choose for myself. My Krell name is difficult for human mouth. Do-Yun, he said automatically. Do-Yun, Yuna repeated, testing the name. Good name, strong. She gestured around the small cargo hold. You rescue me, not kidnap. I was prisoner being moved to fortress. Political marriage to warlord Thaxos. Brutal male who see me as trophy. But the convoy, yes, his convoy. His warriors. His property as he see it. Yuna's eyes darkened. I am strategist. I plan his victories. I study enemy, find weakness, create battle plans. But Thaxos take credit. Say female cannot be war leader. I am just decoration. Do-Hyun slowly sat down on the floor, his back against the wall. The adrenaline was leaving his body, replaced by confusion and exhaustion. So you are happy I took you? Happy is a small word, Yuna said. I am grateful, amazed, hopeful. She paused, searching for words. When I see human on sensors capturing our ship, I think maybe this is chance. Maybe this is answer to secret prayers. You pray to be kidnapped? I pray for freedom, Yuna corrected. For choice. For a partner who value mind as much as body. She looked at him intently. You are alone too, yes? No other human on dead ship. You take me because you are desperate. Do-Hyun felt his face heat up. I am sorry. I was not thinking clearly. 8 months alone. No sorry, Yuna interrupted. We both desperate. We both take risk. Now we survive together or die together. More honest than political marriage. A proximity alarm beeped. Do-Hyun jumped up and ran to the cockpit. Yuna followed, moving with surprising grace in the small space. The sensors showed their position in hyperspace, but also displayed a troubling message. Life support damage. Air recycling at 60% capacity. Problem? Yuna asked. The escape pod is old, Do-Hyun explained. When I detached from the Eternal Dawn, the docking clamps damaged some systems. We have oxygen for maybe 3 weeks if we are careful. Destination? Haven's Gate Neutral Trading Station. 3 weeks away if we maintain current speed. Yuna studied the controls. May I? Do-Hyun hesitated, then stepped aside. Yuna examined the navigation system, her clawed fingers moving delicately over the display. She made small adjustments, her eyes scanning data that Do-Hyun had set up. You route around gravity wells, she observed. Safe but slow. If we cut through Nebula Sector 7, we save 4 days. That nebula has radiation. Yes, but pod shielding can handle for 2 days transit. I calculate risk acceptable versus oxygen shortage. Do-Hyun looked at the new route she had plotted. It made sense. The radiation would be uncomfortable but not lethal, and 4 extra days of oxygen could be the difference between life and death. You really are a strategist, he said. I tell you truth. Yuna implemented the course change. Now we have 3 weeks in small space. We should learn about each other. Over the following days, an unlikely routine developed. Do-Hyun showed Yuna how human technology worked, explaining the science behind hyperspace drives and life support systems. She absorbed information like a desert absorbing rain, asking intelligent questions that made him reconsider things he thought he knew. In return, Yuna taught him about Krell culture. She explained that her people were not simply savage warriors. They had complex honor codes, rich oral traditions, and sophisticated art forms. The violence that other species saw was only one part of their society. Krell believed strength is most important. Yuna explained one evening as they shared a meal of reconstituted protein bars and filtered water. But strength not just physical. Strength of mind, strength of will, strength of purpose, all valued. Then why do the Krell raid other species? Some Krell, Yuna corrected. Like Thaxos. They see strength as domination. Take what you want, control the weak. But old Krell philosophy different. Strength to protect. Strength to build. Strength to honor worthy opponent. Do-Hyun chewed his protein bar thoughtfully. So there are different factions? Yes, young Krell especially curious about other species. Want to learn, not just conquer. But elders hold power, and many elders are like Thaxos. She looked sad. I hope for change. Hope that one day Krell join galactic community as partners, not threats. Is that why you studied human culture? Yuna nodded. Human are weak physically. Small bodies, soft skin, slow reflexes. But human accomplish incredible things. Build empires not through strength but through cooperation, innovation, persistence. I study human and think maybe this is true strength. Maybe Krell can learn. They talked late into the night cycle, discovering surprising common ground. Yuna loved human classical music, especially Bach and Beethoven. Do-hyun was fascinated by Krell meditation techniques that could slow heart rate and conserve oxygen. She taught him combat breathing. He taught her about human literature. One morning, Do-hyun woke to find Yuna practicing what looked like martial arts in the small cargo space. Her movements were fluid and precise, each strike and block executed with perfect control. "This is Krell combat form," she explained, not breaking her rhythm. "Training from childhood." "You want to learn?" "I would just embarrass myself. Everyone begins somewhere." Yuna stopped and gestured for him to join her. "Come, I teach you basic stance." Do-hyun stood awkwardly, trying to copy her position. Yuna circled him, adjusting his feet, his shoulders, his arms. Her clawed hands were surprisingly gentle. "Good," she said. "Now breathe. Feel center of balance." They practiced for an hour, and Do-hyun was surprised by how natural it felt. Yuna was patient, encouraging, treating him as a student rather than a burden. During rest period, as they floated in the dimmed cockpit watching the stars blur past, Yuna spoke quietly. "Do-hyun, can I ask personal question?" "Of course. Why you on colony ship alone? Where is your family?" Do-hyun was silent for a long moment. The Eternal Dawn was carrying scientists and colonists to a new world. "I was part of the research team. We were supposed to study alien ecosystems." He swallowed hard. "The engine failure was instantaneous. Most people died in the first explosion. I survived because I was in a shielded laboratory. I am sorry. I tried to save others, but the damage was too severe. I watched them die one by one over the first month. The captain was the last to go. He told me to keep broadcasting the distress signal. To survive." Do-hyun's voice cracked. 8 months later, you were the only response." Yuna reached out and took his hand. Her scales were warm, her grip firm but not painful. "Then we are both survivors. Both refugees from lives we did not choose. We make new life now." "The Krell will come after us," Do-hyun said. "Thaxos will not let this stand." "I know." Yuna squeezed his hand. "But we have 3 weeks to plan, and we have each other." The proximity alarm suddenly blared to life. Both of them jumped to the controls. The sensors showed multiple hyperspace signatures emerging from their destination coordinates. Krell ships. Hunter vessels designed for pursuit and capture. How did they find us so fast? Do-hyun demanded. Yuna was already calculating. "Thaxos must have predicted our destination. Haven's Gate is logical choice for refugee. He sent hunters ahead." She looked at him, her amber eyes intense. "We need to be smarter than him. Can we outrun them? No, hunter ships are faster. But we can outsmart them." Her clawed fingers danced across the controls. "There is asteroid field nearby. Dense enough to hide. Dangerous enough that hunters will be cautious. We go there. That is suicide. That is strategy." Yuna corrected. "Trust me." Do-hyun looked at her, this alien woman who had become his partner in just a few days. Against all logic, he did trust her. "All right," he said. "Let's do it." The escape pod changed course, diving toward the asteroid field while behind them, the hunter ships began their pursuit. The asteroid field loomed ahead like a wall of tumbling rock and ice. Each piece ranged from the size of Do-hyun's fist to larger than their entire escape pod. They spun through space in chaotic patterns, colliding and fragmenting in a deadly dance that had probably continued for millions of years. Do-hyun's hands were slick with sweat on the controls. "This is insane." "Insane is Krell's specialty," Yuna said calmly. She had taken the co-pilot seat, her larger frame somehow fitting into the human-sized chair. Her clawed fingers worked the secondary controls with surprising delicacy. "I guide you. Watch right side. I watch left. Together we see everything. Together we die horribly. Maybe. But we die free." Yuna smiled, that unsettling, sharp-toothed smile. Better than Cage. Do-hyun piloted them into the field. Immediately, proximity alarms screamed warnings. Asteroids passed by the viewport, some close enough to touch. He jinked left, following Yuna's call-outs, then dove under a massive spinning rock that would have crushed them flat. Behind them, the 3 hunter ships entered the field. They were sleeker than the escape pod, built for speed and pursuit, but they were also larger, making them less maneuverable between the asteroids. "They spread out," Yuna observed, watching the tactical display. "Trying to surround us. Classic Krell hunting pattern. How do we beat it?" We do not beat it. We make them beat themselves. She studied the asteroid patterns, her eyes tracking trajectories that Do-hyun could barely perceive. There, see that cluster ahead? 3 large asteroids in close formation? Yes, fly between them, fast as possible. Do-hyun saw the gap she meant. It was narrow, constantly shifting as the asteroids rotated. Flying through it would require perfect timing and precision he was not sure he possessed. I cannot make that shot. Yes, you can. I calculate trajectory. You fly on instinct. Human instinct good for quick decisions. Yuna put her hand over his on the control stick. I trust you. Those 3 words steadied him more than any amount of technical instruction. Do-hyun took a deep breath and accelerated toward the gap. Asteroids rushed past. The opening approached, narrowing as the rock spun. He could see it closing, their window of opportunity shrinking with every second. Now, Yuna shouted. Do-hyun pushed the throttle to maximum. The escape pod shot forward, squeezing through the gap with centimeters to spare. The hull scraped against rock, alarms blaring, but they were through. Behind them, the hunter ships tried to follow. The first one made it, its pilot skilled enough to match Do-hyun's desperate maneuver. But the second ship was not as lucky. It clipped an asteroid, and the collision sent it spinning into another rock. A silent explosion bloomed in space. 1 down, Yuna said with grim satisfaction. 2 remain. That was luck. No. That was human unpredictability combined with Krell's strategic thinking. They expect us to run, to hide. We use aggression instead. Confuse them. The remaining 2 hunter ships adjusted their pursuit, becoming more cautious. But they were still faster, still gaining. Do-hyun could see them closing the distance on his sensors. We need another trick, he said. Yuna was scanning the area intensely. There, old minefield. From ancient war between species I not recognize. Mine still active according to sensors. Dormant but functional. And we fly into that because? Because mines detect large energy signatures. Hunter ships have bigger engines than escape pod. They trigger mines first. Yuna looked at him. But we must fly very carefully. Low power, minimal maneuvering. It was another insane plan. But insane seemed to be working for them. Do-hyun throttled back, letting the pod coast on momentum. The hunter ships grew closer, sensing their advantage. They entered the minefield. It was marked on Do-hyun's charts as a hazard zone, but no visual indicators showed where the mines were hidden. They could be anywhere in the debris and dust. The lead hunter ship accelerated, moving in for capture. Its weapons were charging, preparing to disable the escape pod's engines. Then its forward sensors touched something invisible in the void. The mine detonated. It was an old-style explosive, crude but effective. The hunter ship's shields absorbed most of the blast, but the force sent it tumbling into 2 more mines. The second and third explosions tore through its armor. The ship split apart, debris scattering. The final hunter ship immediately reversed thrust, trying to back out of the minefield. But it was too late. In its panic, it triggered a cluster of 3 mines simultaneously. The overlapping explosions overwhelmed its defenses. The ship died in silence, joining the ancient wreckage that filled this forgotten battlefield. Do-hyun sat back in his seat, shaking. We just survived that. We actually survived that. You flew well, Yuna said. Better than trained Krell pilot. I had good guidance. Do-hyun smiled at her and she returned it. For a moment, despite the danger and the strangeness, he felt a connection deeper than survival instinct. Then the pod shuddered. Red lights flashed across the console. When they had scraped through the asteroid gap, the damage had been worse than Do-hyun thought. A hull breach was slowly venting atmosphere into space. How bad? Yuna asked, already moving to assess the damage. We are losing air. The patch kit should handle it, but I need to go outside to seal the breach properly. Too dangerous. Let me go. Krell survived vacuum longer than human. It is a human ship. I know the systems better. Do-hyun was already pulling on the emergency pressure suit from the locker. It was old, probably as old as the escape pod, but it was all they had. Yuna helped him seal the suit, checking each connection with professional care. Be quick. Be safe. I will try. The airlock was tiny, barely large enough for Do-hyun to stand. He cycled it open and stepped out into space. The silence was absolute. Stars surrounded him in every direction, beautiful and terrifying in their indifference. He moved along the hull using magnetic hand grips, following the telltale streak of frozen air that marked the breach. It was a jagged tear about 30 centimeters long, probably from hitting an asteroid. Not fatal yet, but it would be soon. Do-hyun pulled out the patch kit and began applying the sealant. It was delicate work in the bulky suit gloves. He had to clean the area first, then apply the adhesive, then place the patch perfectly or it would not hold. A piece of debris from the destroyed hunter ship tumbled past, missing him by meters. More wreckage was drifting through the area. They needed to leave soon before something larger hit them. Do-hyun finished the patch and tested it. The sealant was holding. He started back toward the airlock, but his boot magnet failed. Suddenly, he was drifting away from the hull, his safety line playing out behind him. Through the viewport, he saw Yuna's face, her amber eyes wide with alarm. She was saying something he could not hear through the vacuum. Do-hyun grabbed his safety line and pulled himself back hand over hand. The line was rated for human weight, but he was not sure it could survive the stress. Each pull brought him closer to the hull, but his movements were slow and clumsy in the suit. A large piece of debris tumbled into view, spinning directly toward him. He pulled harder, muscles burning. The debris passed so close he could have touched it. Finally, his hands reached the hull. He grabbed a hand grip and pulled himself to the airlock. Yuna was there the moment he cycled through, helping him out of the suit with trembling hands. "You are unharmed?" "I am fine. Just scared. You save us. That is brave." Do-hyun collapsed into the pilot seat, his legs weak with adrenaline crash. "We make a good team." "Yes, we do." Yuna settled into the co-pilot seat. "This is what I always imagine. Partner who work with me, not command me. Equal cooperation. Is that not normal for Krell? Not for female? In traditional Krell society, female are valued for breeding and beauty. Some become warriors if they prove themselves exceptionally strong. But strategist, thinker, these roles are for males." Yuna's voice held bitterness. "I have to work twice as hard, be twice as smart to receive half the respect. Thaxos only keep me because my strategies win battles, but he never acknowledged my contribution. That is not right. No, it is not. That is why I study human culture. Human have concept of equality, of judging individual by merit, not by birth or gender. Not perfect, but better than Krell." She looked at him. "You treat me as equal from beginning. Even when you kidnap me, you show respect." "I was terrified of you," Do-hyun admitted. "You are twice my size and could probably break me like a twig. Physical strength is just one type of strength. You have intelligence, creativity, courage. You survive 8 months alone when most beings would go mad. You pilot through asteroid field like veteran. You risk death to save pod from air leak." Yuna reached out and touched his shoulder gently. "You have strength that matters." Do-hyun felt warmth spread through his chest. When was the last time someone had valued him like this? The colony ship crew had been professional but distant. His family was gone. For 8 months he had been nothing but a voice shouting into empty space. Now here was Yuna, alien and strange and perfect, seeing him as worthy. "Thank you," he said quietly. The console beeped. An incoming transmission. Yuna and Do-hyun exchanged glances. The signal was encrypted with Krell military codes, but Yuna's knowledge let her decrypt it. A face appeared on the screen. Male Krell, massive even by their standards, with dark red scales and cruel eyes. Scars crossed his face like badges of violence. "Warlord Thaxos," Yuna whispered. The warlord spoke in the Krell language, his voice like grinding stone. The translation software lagged behind his words. Lee Haven's gate appeared on their sensors like a jewel floating in the darkness. The station was a massive ring structure, rotating slowly to generate artificial gravity. Ships of a dozen different species clustered around it like fish around coral. Some Do-hyun recognized from his xenobiology training. Others were completely alien, their designs following principles he could not guess. "Beautiful," Yuna said quietly. "I never see neutral station before. Thaxos only take me to Krell military bases." "It is supposed to be the safest place in this sector," Do-hyun replied, guiding their damaged pod toward a docking berth. "The Traitor Coalition governs it. They have strict rules against violence. Even Krell warlords are supposed to respect coalition neutrality." "Supposed to," Yuna repeated, her tone skeptical. "But Thaxos respect nothing." They docked in a commercial berth, paying the fee with the few remaining credits Do-hyun had salvaged from the Eternal Dawn's accounts. The dockmaster was a being that looked like a floating jellyfish with mechanical tentacles. It examined their pod with obvious disdain. "This vessel is barely spaceworthy," it said through a translator device. "Port authority could impound for safety violations." We just need supplies and repairs, Do-hyun said. Then we will be gone. The dockmaster's tentacles twitched in what might have been a shrug. Your credits accepted. Berth 87. Try not to explode and damage neighboring ships. As they walked through the station's corridors, Do-hyun was struck by the diversity. Beings of every shape and size moved past, speaking languages he had never heard. The air smelled of 100 different worlds, spices and chemicals and pheromones mixing into something uniquely Haven's Gate. Yuna walked close to him, her presence drawing stares. Krell were not common on neutral stations, and her silver scales marked her as unusual even among her own kind. But she held her head high, refusing to show fear. They found a supply shop run by a four-armed merchant who claimed to have parts for any ship design. Do-hyun purchased what he could afford, stretching his thin credit balance. Food concentrates, water purification tablets, patch kits for the pod's damaged systems. As the merchant packed their supplies, a human woman approached them. She was older than Do-hyun, maybe 50, with gray streaks in her dark hair and the weathered look of someone who had spent years in space. She wore mismatched clothing that suggested practicality over fashion. You two are attracting attention, she said quietly in Korean, her accent suggesting she was from Earth's Asian Union territories. Do-hyun tensed. Who are you? Name is Minseo. I am a freelance trader, which is polite way of saying smuggler. She smiled without warmth. I recognize desperation when I see it. You two running from something big. We do not need help, Do-hyun said. Really? Because I heard chatter on Krell military frequencies. Seems a warlord is very angry about losing his wife. Minseo looked at Yuna with interest. That would be you, I assume? Yuna stepped forward, placing herself slightly in front of Do-hyun. What do you want? To help, maybe, if we can make a deal? Minseo gestured toward a quieter corner of the shop. Come, we talk away from ears. They followed, though Do-hyun kept his hand near the small plasma cutter in his belt. Minseo led them to a booth designed for private business discussions. Once they were seated, she activated a privacy field that hummed softly. Here is situation, Minseo said. I know who you are. I know Warlord Thaxos is hunting you, and I know he threatened to destroy this station if you do not surrender in 3 days. How do you know all this? Do-hyun demanded. I have contacts. Information is valuable in my business. She leaned forward. Question is, what are you going to do about it? We are working on that, Do-hyun said. Work faster. Because if Thaxos attacks this station, a lot of innocent people die, including me. I have business interest in staying alive. Minseo pulled up a holographic display. There is human military outpost 3 systems from here. Earth Defense Force. They have been monitoring Krell expansion for years, looking for excuse to push back. You want us to go to human military? Yuna asked. I want you to give them reason to protect you. And through protecting you, protect this station. Minseo expanded the display, showing ship routes and military positions. If you reach that outpost with proof of Thaxos threatening coalition neutrality, Earth forces might intervene. At minimum, they protect you. At best, they force Krell to back down through diplomatic pressure. Do-hyun studied the routes. Our pod will not make it 3 systems. We barely made it here, which is why you need better ship. Minseo smiled. I happen to have one available. Fast, well-armed, reliable. For price, of course. We have no money. No, but you have something better, information. Minseo looked at Yuna. You are Thaxos' chief strategist. You know his battle plans, his fleet positions, his weaknesses. That information is worth fortune to Earth military. They pay well for intelligence on potential threats. Yuna was silent for a long moment. You want me to betray military secrets of my people? I want you to survive, and I want this station to survive. If that requires sharing information with Earth, then yes. Minseo's expression softened slightly. Look, I am not asking you to hurt innocent Krell. But Thaxos is not innocent. He is butcher who uses fear as weapon. If exposing his tactics prevents war, is that not worth it? She is right, Do-hyun said quietly to Yuna. We need help. And if your information can protect people, maybe it is right thing to do. Yuna closed her eyes, struggling with the decision. When she opened them again, they were filled with pain but also determination. I share what I know, but only information about Thaxos specifically, not about Krell military in general. I will not betray entire species. Fair enough, Minseo said. My ship is called Dawn's Promise. Appropriate, yes? She is fast, has good shields, And most importantly, she has stealth systems for avoiding detection. I take you to human outpost. In exchange, you let me broker the information deal with Earth Defense Force. I take small commission. How small? Do-hyun asked. 20%. Standard broker fee. 10%, Min-seo laughed. You negotiate like true trader. 15% and I throw in weapons upgrade for pod. You keep it as backup vessel. Do-hyun looked at Yuna. She nodded. They were out of options and time. Deal, Do-hyun said. They shook hands, sealing the agreement. Min-seo deactivated the privacy field and stood. Meet me at Docking Bay 3 in 2 hours. Bring your supplies and anything you value from pod. Once we launch, there is no coming back here. As Min-seo walked away, Do-hyun felt both relief and worry. They had found a path forward, but it meant placing their lives in a stranger's hands. You trust her? Yuna asked. Not entirely, but we have no choice. They spent the next hour transferring supplies from their pod to Min-seo's ship. Dawn's Promise was sleek and well-maintained, a mid-sized transport that had obviously been modified extensively. The engine signature showed human design, but there were additions from at least 3 other species. As they loaded the last container, a young woman approached. She had cybernetic implants visible on her neck and hands, glowing softly with blue light. Her hair was cut short and practical. You are the refugees everyone is talking about, she said in accented Korean. Human and Krell together. Very unusual. Who are you? Do-hyun asked. Ji-won. I am engineer specializing in cybernetic systems and ship modifications. I hear your story from dockside gossip. She smiled warmly. I think it is beautiful. 2 species coming together. Very romantic, Yuna tilted her head. You are not disgusted? Many beings fear Krell. I am more interested in technology and possibilities than fear, Ji-won said. Besides, love is universal. It transcends species barriers. She pulled out a small device. I want to give you something. Communication encoder. Very advanced. It let you send messages that cannot be intercepted or decoded. Might be useful. We cannot pay, Do-hyun said. Consider it gift. For inspiring story. Ji-won pressed the device into his hand. Also, if you need anything else, send me message. I have contacts throughout sector. Something about her eagerness made Do-hyun uneasy, but he accepted the gift gratefully. They needed all the help they could get. As Ji-won walked away, Min-seo appeared from inside the ship. Ready to launch? We should leave before station security starts asking too many questions about Krell presence here. They boarded Dawn's Promise and strapped into the passenger cabin. Min-seo piloted them away from Haven's Gate, the station shrinking behind them as they accelerated toward open space. Do-hyun was just starting to relax when the ship rocked violently. Alarms blared. What was that? Yuna demanded. Min-seo's voice came through the intercom, tense and angry. Missile strike! Someone just fired on us. Another explosion, closer this time. Through the viewport, Do-hyun saw ships emerging from concealment. Krell fighters, small and agile, surrounding them. This is trap, Yuna shouted. Someone betray us. Min-seo was cursing over the intercom as she tried evasive maneuvers. They must have been waiting, hiding near the station. Do-hyun's mind raced. Who had betrayed them? Min-seo? No, she looked genuinely surprised and angry. Someone else then. Someone who had access to their plans. The communication encoder Ji-won had given him felt heavy in his pocket. The cybernetic engineer who had been so friendly, so eager to help. The shields collapsed with a sound like breaking glass. Dawn's Promise tumbled through space, its hull scorched and systems failing. Krell fighters circled like predators around wounded prey, weapons locked and ready for the final strike. Do-hyun gripped his seat restraints, his mind frantically searching for options that did not exist. Beside him, Yuna had gone still, her warrior training taking over. If they were going to die, she would face it with dignity. Then space tore open. A massive rift appeared, reality splitting like fabric as ships emerged from hyperspace. Human ships. Sleek destroyers and heavy cruisers, their hulls marked with the emblem of Earth Defense Force. Dozens of them, a full battle group materializing in perfect formation. The Krell fighters scattered, suddenly outnumbered and outgunned. The lead human destroyer broadcast on all frequencies, its message translated into every known language. This is EDF destroyer Incheon. All vessels stand down immediately. This sector is now under Earth Defense Force protection. Any further acts of aggression will be met with overwhelming force. Min-seo whooped with joy over the intercom. I sent distress signal before we got hit. Earth military must have had ships nearby. The human ships moved with practiced precision, forming a defensive perimeter around Haven's Gate. Medical vessels appeared, already deploying teams to the damaged station. The Krell fighters retreated but did not leave, hovering at the edge of weapons range. Dawn's promise, this is Inshin, a voice said in Korean. You are leaking atmosphere and your engines are critical. We are sending a recovery shuttle. Stand by. Within minutes, a military shuttle docked with Minseo's crippled ship. Marines in powered armor secured the vessel, then helped Do-hyun, Yuna, and Minseo transferred to the shuttle. The Marines were professional, weapons ready but not aimed, clearly unsure what to make of the human and Krell traveling together. They were brought to the Inshin and escorted through corridors filled with rushing personnel. The ship was preparing for battle, that much was obvious. They passed crews loading weapons, engineers reinforcing shields, and medical teams preparing for casualties. Finally, they reached the command deck. The bridge was a controlled chaos of activity, with officers calling out status reports and tactical data streaming across holographic displays. At the center stood a tall woman in an admiral's uniform, her gray hair pulled back in a practical bun. She studied the main view screen with intense focus. Admiral Tae-young, a junior officer, announced. The civilians from Dawn's promise. The admiral turned, her sharp eyes assessing them in seconds. She was probably in her 60s, with the bearing of someone who had spent decades making life and death decisions. When she spoke, her voice carried natural authority. Do-hyun, survivor of colony ship Eternal Dawn. Yuna, former strategic advisor to Warlord Thaxos. Minseo, freelance trader with a record that includes several interesting smuggling charges. She smiled thinly. Your arrival has caused quite a situation. I am sorry, Do-hyun began, but the admiral raised a hand. Do not apologize for surviving. Explain instead. She gestured to the view screen, which showed Thaxos's massive flagship holding position beyond the defense perimeter. That warlord is demanding your return. He claims you are his stolen property. He also claims the right to punish Haven's Gate for harboring fugitives. What do you have to say? Yuna stepped forward, her full height making her tower over even the tallest humans. I'm not property. I choose to leave. Thaxos attack innocent station out of pride and cruelty, not justice. He violate coalition neutrality laws. He commit war crime. She is telling the truth, Do-hyun added. We have recordings, evidence. Thaxos threatened to kill thousands of innocents if we did not surrender. Then he attacked anyway, even though we were still trying to escape. Admiral Tae-young nodded slowly. We intercepted those communications. We also have been monitoring Krell expansion in this sector for 2 years. Thaxos has been pushing boundaries, testing what he can get away with. She looked at Yuna with interest. But we never had insider information before. Someone who knows his tactics, his fleet positions, his weaknesses. I share what I know, Yuna said. But I have conditions. Information used only against Thaxos personally, not against all Krell. My people are not all like him. Many want peace, want cooperation with other species. I will not help start war between Earth and Krell Empire. Acceptable, the Admiral said immediately. We do not want war either. War is expensive, unpredictable, and usually solves nothing. But we will not allow bullies to threaten civilians. She turned to her tactical officer. Status on Haven's Gate? Damage contained, Admiral. 23 dead, hundreds injured, but station is stable. Their defense systems are coming back online with our technical assistance. Tae-young nodded, her expression grim. 23 lives because a warlord wanted to reclaim his escaped wife. Unacceptable. She looked back at Yuna. Here is what I propose. You and Do-hyun provide testimony and evidence. We present your case to the Traitor Coalition and the Krell High Council. We prove that Thaxos violated multiple treaties and laws. With luck, the Krell leadership will remove him from power rather than risk wider conflict. And if they do not, Yuna asked, then we protect you anyway. Earth does not surrender people to slavers or tyrants. It is one of our core principles, the Admiral smiled. Besides, your information is valuable. The intelligence alone justifies offering you asylum. A communication alert sounded. The main view screen switched to show a Krell face massive and scarred, with eyes that burned with rage. Thaxos. Human Admiral, the warlord growled through the translator. You interfere in Krell internal matter. Return my property or face consequences. I am Admiral Tae-young of Earth Defense Force, she replied calmly. The individuals aboard my ship are here voluntarily. They are not property, and your attack on a neutral station violated coalition law. You have no legal standing. I have fleet. I have weapons. That is all standing I need. Then you declare war on Earth? Taeyong's voice was ice. Because attacking my ships or threatening my personnel will be considered act of war, and I promise you, Warlord, Earth responds to war with overwhelming force. We may be small and soft compared to Krell, but we are very good at destroying things that threaten us. Thaxos laughed, a harsh sound. Humans are weak. Your ships are toys. Your weapons are noise. Test that theory if you wish, the Admiral said. I have 12 destroyers, 4 cruisers, and 2 carriers in this battle group. We have been preparing for Krell aggression for years. We know your tactics. We know your weaknesses. And right now we have someone who planned your victories, teaching us everything about how you think. The Warlord's eyes found Yuna on the transmission. Traitor. You betray your people for human softness. I betray only you, Thaxos. Yuna replied, her voice steady. You are not my people. You are tyrant who holds power through fear. You dishonor true Krell philosophy. You make us appear savage when we could be so much more. Flowery words from traitor? Thaxos spat. You forget, little strategist. I know human military doctrine too. I study enemies. Earth cannot afford war. Your resources are limited. Your colonies are spread thin. You make threats you cannot follow through. Admiral Taeyong smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. You are partly correct. We cannot afford large war, which is why we will not fight one. Instead, we will present your crimes to the Krell High Council and let them decide your fate. We have full documentation of your threat against Haven's Gate. We have recordings of your illegal attack. We have testimony from your own strategic advisor. The Council will have to act or risk losing coalition support. For the first time, uncertainty crossed Thaxos's face. The Council will not listen to human propaganda. They will listen to evidence, and they will listen to political pressure. Earth has many allies in the coalition. We have been building relationships while you have been making enemies. The Admiral leaned forward. Here's what happens now. You withdraw your fleet. We file formal charges with both the coalition and the Krell High Council. A tribunal is held. If you are innocent, the truth will prove it. If you are guilty, you face justice, simple. And if I refuse, then we defend this station and these individuals with lethal force. You can try to fight through 12 destroyers to reach them, but I guarantee you will not succeed. And the attempt will give the Council even more reason to remove you from power. Taeyong crossed her arms. Choose wisely, Warlord. Die a warrior in pointless battle, or face judgment with whatever honor you have left. The standoff stretched for long seconds. On the bridge, every officer watched tensely. Do-hyun could feel his heart pounding. This moment would determine whether thousands died in battle, or if there was a chance for justice. Finally, Thaxos growled something in Krell and cut the transmission. Tactical. Report, the Admiral ordered. His fleet is withdrawing, Admiral. They are moving to minimum safe distance and holding position. Taeyong let out a breath. He will wait while the tribunal is arranged. He is too smart to attack now when he knows he would lose. But he is not done. Men like him never give up easily. She turned back to Do-hyun and Yuna. You two are now under Earth's protection. We will arrange for you to testify before the Coalition and the Krell High Council. Your words made the neutral tribunal station floated in space between territories, belonging to no one and everyone. It was a massive structure built specifically for resolving disputes between species, a monument to the idea that laws could replace violence. Do-hyun had never seen anything like it. Ships from dozens of worlds surrounded the station. Krell warships on one side, human vessels on the other, and coalition enforcement craft forming a buffer between them. It was a powder keg of tension, one spark away from catastrophic war. Inside the station, the main tribunal chamber was equally divided. The design was deliberately neutral, with no species architecture dominating. The walls were simple gray metal, the lighting carefully calibrated to work for dozens of different types of vision. Seating wrapped around a central speaking platform in tiered rows. Do-hyun sat in the human delegation section, wearing formal clothes that Admiral Taeyong's staff had provided. He felt small and inadequate, surrounded by diplomats and military officers who dealt with galactic politics daily. Beside him, Yuna wore traditional Krell formal armor, modified to show she was not currently sworn to any warlord. Her silver scales gleamed under the lights. The Krell High Council occupied an entire section of the chamber. 7 elder Krell, each representing a major clan, sat in elevated chairs that reinforced their status. They were massive, even by Krell standards, adorned with scars and ceremonial markings that told stories of ancient battles. Across from them, the Trader Coalition representatives formed a smaller group. Various species united by their commitment to peaceful commerce and neutral law. They would serve as judges, though the Krell Council's decision would ultimately determine Thaxos's fate among his own people. Thaxos himself stood on the central platform, flanked by 2 honor guards. He wore full battle armor, decorated with symbols of his victories. Even in a place dedicated to peaceful resolution, he projected violence and dominance. His eyes scanned the crowd until they found Yuna, and his expression twisted with rage. The Chief Arbiter, a being that resembled a floating crystal formation, called the session to order. Its voice was translated into every language simultaneously. We gather to address charges brought by Earth Defense Force against Warlord Thaxos of the Krell Empire. The charges include violation of coalition neutrality laws, threats against civilian populations, and unlawful use of force. The accused may speak first. Thaxos stepped forward, his voice booming. I speak truth that all Krell know. Female named Yuna was bound to me by clan agreement. She was my property by law and custom. Human male stealer. I have right to retrieve what is mine and punish those who assist in theft. You say property, the Arbiter said. But the Coalition recognizes no person as property. Sentient beings have right to self-determination. That is Coalition law, not Krell law. My people's customs are older than your Coalition. But you operate in Coalition space, the Arbiter countered. When you dock at Coalition stations, trade with Coalition members, or travel through neutral zones, you agree to abide by Coalition standards. One of the Krell Council elders, a massive male with dark blue scales, spoke up. The Arbiter is correct in law, but there is also question of honor. Warlord Thaxos, you claim this female was yours by agreement. Explain the nature of this agreement, Thaxos straightened. Her clan pledged her to me to seal alliance. Standard political marriage. She brings strategic knowledge, I bring protection and status. Was she consulted in this agreement? The elder asked. Female do not need consultation. They are guided by clan wisdom. A different elder, this one female with lighter scales and intelligent eyes, leaned forward. I am Elder Hanuel. I represent the reform clans who believe Krell must evolve beyond old ways. Warlord Thaxos, you say female do not need consultation, but I see the Krell female in question standing here today. Perhaps we should hear her speak before deciding her thoughts do not matter. Murmurs spread through the Krell section. Clearly, Elder Hanuel's position was controversial among her own people. The Arbiter nodded. Yuna, former advisor to Thaxos, you may approach and testify. Yuna stood, and Do-hyun felt his heart clench with worry. She had to walk through the center of the chamber, passing directly by Thaxos. He wanted to protect her, but this was her battle to fight. Yuna moved with perfect warrior grace, her posture proud despite the circumstances. She stopped at the speaking platform facing the assembled councils and delegations. I am Yuna, she said, her voice clear. I serve as strategic advisor to Warlord Thaxos for 5 years. I plan 17 major campaigns. I analyze enemy patterns. I find weaknesses in defenses. My strategies win battles that should have been lost. But I am never credited. Thaxos claim all victory as his own. When other Krell ask how he win against impossible odds, he say it is his genius, his warrior spirit. He never mentioned the female who actually plan everything. That is not why we are here, Thaxos interrupted. Your bitterness about recognition is not relevant. It is completely relevant, Yuna shot back. You treat me as tool, not person. You move me from place to place like cargo. You trade me to seal alliance with Eastern clans without asking my thoughts. When human male offer me chance at freedom, I take it. This is not theft. This is choice. You had no right to choose, Thaxos growled. Why not? Yuna turned to face the Krell Council. I ask respected elders, why do I not have right to choose? I am intelligent. I am skilled. I prove my worth in battle planning and strategy. What about being female removes my right to determine my own path? Elder Hanuel smiled slightly. An excellent question. The male elder who had spoken earlier frowned. This is not about female rights. This is about clan honor and agreements made. Agreements made about me without my voice, Yuna countered. Elder, if someone made agreement about your future without your consent, would you call it honor? Or would you call it tyranny? The chamber erupted in arguments. Krell shouting at each other in their language. Coalition members debating points of law. Human delegates watching the chaos with careful attention. The Arbiter released a harmonic tone that cut through the noise. Order, we will have order. Silence fell slowly. The Arbiter turned its attention to Do-hyun. Human called Do-hyun, you are accused of kidnapping. What is your response? Do-hyun stood, his legs shaking but his voice steady. I admit I captured Yuna's ship and took her aboard mine. But I want to show evidence of what happened next. Admiral Tae-young stood from the human section. With permission, we have recordings from Do-hyun's escape pod. Audio and visual logs that show the entire interaction. The Arbiter gestured agreement. Holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. The recording played, showing Do-hyun's first meeting with Yuna in the cargo hold. Her words were clearly audible. I always wanted a human husband. The recording continued, showing their conversations, her willing cooperation, her obvious intelligence and agency. It showed Thaxos's transmission threatening Haven's Gate. It showed the attack that followed. When it ended, the chamber was silent. This recording shows cooperation, the Arbiter said, not kidnapping. It also shows Warlord Thaxos threatening to kill thousands of civilians if his demands were not met. Propaganda, Thaxos snarled. Humans can fake recordings. We have verified authenticity, a Coalition technical expert reported. These recordings are unaltered. Admiral Tae-young stood again. We also have testimony from survivors of Haven's Gate. 23 dead, 418 injured, billions in property damage. All because Warlord Thaxos decided to attack a neutral station rather than pursue diplomatic channels. I pursue diplomatic channels, Thaxos protested. I give ultimatum. I give time to comply. They choose defiance. You gave threat, the Admiral corrected. Comply or I kill innocents. That is not diplomacy. That is terrorism. More arguments exploded. The Krell Council members were clearly divided. Some seemed swayed by the evidence. Others looked angry at the human interference in what they saw as Krell affairs. Elder Hanul stood, commanding attention through sheer presence. I have heard enough. I speak now as Krell Elder who has lived through many wars and seen many changes. Our people stand at crossroads. We can cling to old ways, treating female as property and might as only right, or we can evolve. We can recognize that true strength comes from honoring merit, from respecting choice, from building alliances through respect rather than fear. She pointed at Yuna. This female show intelligence and courage. She challenged not her people but one tyrant who abused power. She asked for something radical but simple, to be treated as person with agency. Is this so threatening? Do we Krell fear freedom so much that we must chain half our population? You speak like human sympathizer, the dark blue elder said. I speak like Krell who want our people to survive and thrive in changing galaxy, Hanul replied. Look around this chamber. Dozens of species cooperate, trade, share knowledge. We Krell stand alone, feared and isolated. Thaxos's methods make us pariahs. They give excuse for others to unite against us. Is this strength? Or is this suicide? The debate raged for hours. Do-hyun watched, fascinated and terrified as Krell philosophy and politics crashed against coalition law and human principles. This was bigger than just him and Yuna. This was about the future of an entire species. Finally, the Arbiter called for final statements. Thaxos went first, his voice 6 months later. New Haven Colony looked like a dream barely taking shape. The planet was beautiful in a wild way, with purple vegetation covering rolling hills and 3 moons painting the night sky in silver light. It was a frontier world, far enough from established territories to be safe but close enough to trade routes to be viable. Earth had offered it as a test case for human Krell cooperation, and already 200 settlers had arrived. Half human, half Krell refugees who wanted something different than what their societies offered. Do-hyun stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement, watching construction drones place prefabricated buildings while mixed teams of humans and Krell worked on infrastructure. Solar panels glinted in the sun, water purification systems hummed steadily. Gardens were being planted with crops from both worlds, testing which would thrive in this new environment. It was chaotic and imperfect and more beautiful than anything he had imagined during those lonely months on the Eternal Dawn. Yuna climbed the hill to join him, moving with the easy grace he had come to love. She wore practical work clothes now instead of armor, though she still moved like a warrior. Her silver scales caught the sunlight, making her look like a living statue. The community center is finished, she reported. First official building completed on schedule. Your planning made that possible, Do-hyun said. The construction crews say your logistics are incredible. I learned from military campaigns. Building colony is just different type of battle. She smiled, that sharp-toothed expression that no longer frightened him at all. But here I fight against nature and chaos, not against people. I prefer this way. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching their settlement grow. It had not been easy. Those first weeks on New Haven had tested everyone. Cultural misunderstandings had sparked arguments. Different communication styles had led to frustration. Krell were direct to the point of bluntness, while humans often used indirect language that confused their new neighbors. But slowly, painfully, they were learning. Finding compromises, building something unique. A communication device beeped at Do-hyun's belt. He checked it and smiled. Admiral Tae-young is arriving tomorrow for the official dedication ceremony. She is bringing representatives from the coalition. Good. We show them what is possible when different species work together instead of against each other. Yuna paused. I received message from Elder Hanul. She wants to visit next month. She say young Krell are very interested in New Haven. Many want to emigrate. We have space. The second settlement area is ready for development. I know, but Hanul warned that not all Krell are happy about our experiment. Some traditionalists see it as betrayal of culture. They may cause problems. Do-hyun took her hand, lacing his fingers with her larger clawed ones. We will deal with problems as they come. Together. Together. Yuna agreed, squeezing gently. The peace of the moment was shattered by alarms. The colony's early warning system, a network of sensors Yuna had designed, was broadcasting alerts. Ships approaching. Multiple contacts moving fast. Do-hyun and Yuna ran down the hill toward the command center. By the time they arrived, the entire colony was mobilizing. Human and Krell settlers grabbed weapons and took defensive positions. 6 months of working together had created real unity. They would defend their home as one. In the command center, a young human named Kyung-soo was coordinating the sensor data. 3 ships Krell designed but heavily modified. They are not broadcasting identification codes. Definitely not friendly. Show me, Yuna demanded, moving to the display. The ships appeared on screen. Sleek raiders modified for speed and aggression. As they watched, one ship broke formation and dove toward the settlement. They are going to strafe us, Yuna said. Typical raider tactic. Cause fear, test defenses. What do we do? Kyung-soo asked. Yuna was already typing commands. The mining equipment Do-hyun repurpose. The converted laser drills. Can we use them as point defense? They are not designed for that, Do-hyun said. But his mind was already racing through possibilities. But maybe, if we network them together, use the settlement sensor system for targeting, turn them into makeshift anti-aircraft weapons. Do it, Yuna ordered. I coordinate ground defense. Do-hyun ran to the equipment yard where massive mining lasers sat unused. He had modified them months ago to cut through rock for foundation work. Now he started reprogramming their targeting systems, turning tools of construction into weapons of defense. The raider ship opened fire. Energy bolts slammed into the settlement's shields, barriers powered by the same fusion reactor that supplied the colony. The shields held, but they were designed for weather protection, not military assault. Yuna's voice came over the communication system, calm and commanding. All defense teams, weapons free. Target the engines, not the crew compartments. We disable, not kill. Human and Krell fighters fired back with small arms, mostly just making noise and light to show they would not surrender easily. The raider ship circled for another pass. Do-hyun finished the modifications just as the ship came back around. He activated the mining lasers, now networked and aimed at the sky. The settlement's sensors locked onto the raider, calculating intercept vectors. Fire, Do-hyun shouted. 3 brilliant beams lanced upward. They were not military-grade weapons, but they were powerful tools designed to cut through solid rock. 2 beams missed, but the third caught the raider's port engine. Metal vaporized. The ship spun out of control, trailing smoke and debris as it crashed into open ground a kilometer from the settlement. 1 down, Kyung-soo reported, but the other 2 are regrouping. Through the viewport, Do-hyun saw the raiders forming up for a coordinated attack. This would be harder to defend against. His improvised weapons needed time to recharge, and the raiders had learned to be more careful. Then space rippled. A ship emerged from hyperspace, massive and heavily armed. For a terrifying moment, Do-hyun thought it was Thaxos returning with a warship, but the design was human. Earth Defense Force. This is EDF Destroyer Gwangju, a familiar voice broadcast. It was Admiral Taeyong. Unidentified vessels, you are attacking a protected colony under Earth-Krell Joint Administration. Stand down immediately or be destroyed. The two remaining raiders hesitated. They were outgunned, and they knew it. After a tense moment, they broke off and jumped to hyperspace, abandoning their crashed comrade. In the command center, everyone cheered. The crisis was over. Do-hyun slumped in his chair, adrenaline draining away. Yuna entered the command center, her armor scorched but her expression triumphant. We defend our home together like true settlement. We need to check the crashed ship, Do-hyun said. There might be survivors. They took a ground vehicle to the crash site with a mixed rescue team. The raider ship was broken but intact enough to explore. The crew had survived, protected by emergency systems. 3 Krell, scarred and dangerous looking, trapped in the wreckage. Yuna approached them carefully. Who sent you? Why attack New Haven? The leader, a massive Krell with red scales, spat blood. We serve Thaxos. He may have no official power, but many still follow him. He want to destroy this place. Show that human Krell cooperation is weakness and failure. Thaxos is obsessed with revenge, Yuna said sadly. He cannot move on. He say you betray our people, the red Krell continued. But I see what you build here. I see Krell and human working together, creating something new. Maybe he is wrong. The raider looked at his crashed ship. Maybe we are wrong. What is your name? Yuna asked. Daehyun. Daehyun, you have choice now. We can hold you as prisoner or you can join us. We need strong workers, skilled fighters, people willing to build instead of destroy. But you must leave Thaxos behind. Leave old hatreds behind. Can you do that? Daehyun stared at her in shock. You offer mercy? After we attack you? I offer opportunity, Yuna corrected. Same opportunity I was given. Chance to choose different path. What you decide? The raider was silent for long minutes. Finally, he nodded slowly. I try. Cannot promise I succeed, but I try. That is all we ask, Do-hyun said. Everyone starts somewhere. They extracted the raiders from the wreckage and brought them back to the settlement. The destroyer Gwangju landed nearby, and Admiral Taeyong emerged with her staff. She looked around the colony with approval. You have built something impressive, she told Do-hyun and Yuna. This is exactly what we hoped for. Proof that cooperation is possible. It is not easy, Yuna admitted. Every day bring new challenges. But also every day bring new understanding. That is good enough, the Admiral said. Rome was not built in a day, as humans say. Or in this case, New Haven. She smiled. I bring good news. The Coalition formally recognize your colony. You have full trade rights, legal protection, and support for expansion. More settlers want to come. From Earth, from Krell refugee groups, from other species who hear about your experiment and want to participate. We are ready, Do-hyun said, looking at Yuna. We can handle growth. That evening, they held a celebration. Human music mixed with Krell drums, creating something entirely new. Food from both cultures was shared. Stories were exchanged. Children of both species played together, too young to carry old prejudices. Under the light of 3 moons, Do-hyun and Yuna stood at the edge of the gathering.